to be available for a bigger number of interested people.
Indeed, very useful.
So, guys, you are most welcome in this webinar, which is this is the webinar number 4 that we organize it as IUCN WCPA in the region. When we say region, North Africa, West Asia, and Middle East region. These webinars are organized upon the request of the WCPA members and partners in the region. Let me welcome all of you today, WCPA members, partners, colleagues, experts, protected areas managers, Ministry of Environment in Lebanon and other Ministry of Environment in other countries, IUCN National Committees. Special welcome to Fadi Ghanim, the President of the IUCN National Committee in Lebanon, the Secretariat of IUCN, mainly the 2 regional offices, which is part of our region, West Asia and Malaga, Mediterranean office. I think Hani Sha'ab joined us, the director of the West Asia regional office based in Jordan. And we organize these webinars in close cooperation with different partners, in specific the BioConnect project. The BioConnect, it is an EU-funded project aiming to evaluate 50% of the surface of Lebanon to be evaluated for effective management of protected areas, OECM, ecological corridors, and the whole world is working on that currently, is to meet the new goal of protected areas. Last year, we organized 3 webinars. The first one was about OECM, the second was about the green list, and the third one was about the IUCN Parks Journal to encourage researchers and university professors to use the journal as an impact factor journal and to publish their research about protected areas in the IUCN Parks Journal. As a quick little introduction, Target 3 and the Global Biodiversity Framework adopted in December. Mr. Muhammad, it seems you're not muted.
Sorry.
You are most welcome. We have many colleagues joined from Saudi Arabia, the National Wildlife Center, and other authorities. You are most welcome, all of you. So the target.
Thanks for that. I'm sorry for it.
At all. You are most welcome. Target 3 and the Global Biodiversity Framework adopted in December 2022, which is an urgent 7-year plan to reverse alarming declines of nature by 2030 as a step toward living in harmony by 2030. WCPA always playing a key role in supporting the countries and supporting the protected areas agencies to meet the new goal, which is announcing 30% of our terrestrial and marine areas as protected areas by 2030. We will start this webinar with an introduction about effective management of protected areas and the role that IUCN WCPA is doing. Mainly, we have Dr. Madhu Rao, the chair of IUCN WCPA, the World Commission on Protected Areas. Always Madhu is there to support all of us, to support the protected areas agencies in meeting these new goals and these new commitments. Madhu is is an advisor, senior advisor of the Wildlife Conservation Society, and it is a professor at the National University of Singapore with over 25 years of experience with designing and supporting the implementation of conservation field programs across Asia. Dr. Madhu is well known in this community, and always she's supporting our region really to promote nature protection and conservation, and the important role that WCPA is playing in this region. So, Dr. Madhu, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Nizar, and good afternoon to all of you. It's wonderful to be here. I'm so pleased to be giving these remarks at this very important webinar. As Nizar has already mentioned, it's really an important time for all of us because we have all committed to the global biodiversity framework. And Nizar, if you could just show the first slide, please, if you can just put it on the slide mode.
Can you see? Can you see? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, but I think you need to put it on the slide mode.
Yeah. Many participants, that's it. Okay. I'm not able to see my screen well. Okay, that's it. Go ahead, Madhu.
Okay. So I think, the IPBES reports back in 2019 really brought to attention the declines in nature and recognized there was scientific consensus that direct and indirect drivers of change have accelerated during the past 50 years, and this has resulted in a decline in nature and its vital contributions to people worldwide. Next slide, please. Next slide, please, Nizar.
Can you see it? I moved to the next slide.
There it is, yes. So a number of countries, as Nizar mentioned, came together to adopt the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework with the vision of living in harmony with nature, and recognized the importance of reversing biodiversity loss and reversing degradation of ecosystems, not just for conserving nature, but for its importance for human well-being. So with less than 6 years left to 2030, there are three main considerations that are important. The first is that area-based conservation and the expansion of protected areas, the quantitative element of 30% is important, but equally important is the quality element or the effectiveness. And this is in addition to the importance of the other two elements, which are around participation, justice, rights, and equity, as well as financing. Next slide, please.
Can you see it, Madhu? It seems it takes a little time.
Yes. So target 3, if we sort of go into target 3, it's a very complicated target. And it has a quantitative element of 30% in terrestrial, inland water, and coastal marine. And as I said, it has many qualitative elements. So it talks to areas of particular importance for biodiversity and ecosystem functions and services. It emphasizes equitable governance, effective management, and so on. So target 3, the biggest difference of target 3 when compared to IG target 11 is the effectiveness element. So it's really heartening to see that the emphasis of this webinar is effectiveness. Next slide, please. So just to focus a little bit on the 30% effectively conserved and managed. I mean, effectiveness means different things to different people. But there are 3 elements of effectiveness which are important for us to bear in mind. The first is that effective areas are areas that are important for biodiversity. The second factor is that there are good governance and management strategies that are in place. And together, they are leading to a reduction in threat and contributing to the conservation values being retained, as well as an enhancement of human well-being. So an effective system of protected areas or an effective area really has to consider all these three elements of effectiveness. And we have many important tools that are already being used. So for example, we have the IUCN Key Biodiversity Area Standard, which helps us recognize which areas are important for biodiversity. We've got METT4, we've got IMET, and your webinar today is going to speak to IMET to think about or to assess the governance and the management processes. But also to say that it's really important to measure conservation outcomes as a part of effectiveness. And there are a number of tools such as SMART and Earth Ranger that are driven by technology that are able to measure some of the conservation outcomes and provide evidence of effectiveness. In essence, for effectiveness, we have to be looking at the big picture. We need to look at IMET, we need to look at METT, we need to look at the KBS standard, and we need to look at SMART. And we have to really connect all these different tools if we want to get the full big picture on effectiveness. So this is just a brief introduction that I wanted to give from the WCPA, and I wish you all a very productive dialogue with IMET today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madhu, for the great work that you are doing leading this important commission, which is the WCPA. I know your efforts closely, and I know how much efforts you are putting with the whole steering committee of WCPA and WCPA member in this full cooperation with the IUCN Secretariat and the other IUCN commissions, really to move on toward this new target again and again. And as you say in this intervention, and always, not the most important is to create a new protected area and to enlarge the surface of the protected area, but the most important is to manage this protected area in an effective way and try to connect all these protected areas together, really to play the role and the role of the objectives of the establishment of those protected areas. Thank you, Madhu. I would like to say for everyone that Madhu has to leave for another meeting. If there is any questions related to this intervention or anything related to WCPA, we can share these questions after this webinar with Madhu, and she will come back with some answers. Any last comment, just to guide the participants to read? I don't know, we have some good reports produced lately through WCPA. Maybe if you guide us for 1-2 reports to read it, to have a deeper idea about the work of WCPA in the whole world.
Yes, I mean, so I think I would just like to draw attention. WCPA just produced literally 3 or 4 days ago a new report on monitoring effectiveness, and there is going to be a webinar next week on this best practice guideline. So I welcome all of you to access the report and to use it.
Yeah, and
thank you very much.
Thank you, Madhu. And we have a nice briefing report about the WCPA work called as well. It is online right now, and you can find it by a little search on WCPA section of IUCN page and IUCN library. Really, it's very useful. Short report with big figures and numbers. It will be useful to have a good idea about where we are toward 2030.
Yes, You can provide them the link, Nizar. I
Yes,
can
for
share
sure.
with you the link.
I
All
will
right.
share several links during this webinar just to facilitate the access to everyone to these important publications. Thank you, Madhu.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
So the coming presentation, which is the main objective of this webinar, I will move to Carlo Paolini and Paolo Roggeri. Paolo was correcting me how to pronounce his family name. Paolo and Carlo did great job in the development of the IMET. For sure, both of you coming from a very long experience in the protected areas management and protected areas, different programs and monitoring. Just to say a few words, Paolo is an EU civil servant working for the EU for more than 30 years in different projects and different locations, from Africa to the headquarters in Brussels. And since 2006, Paolo joined the Research Center of the European Commission, as well as Carlo, over 36 years mapping, coordinating, evaluating, and planning national and transboundary protected areas in sub-Sahara Africa. Carlo has a very long experience in the management effectiveness of the protected areas. He's the developer with Paolo of the IMET, but he knows very well the MET and the Enhance Our Heritage tools and the other tools. And currently, I will share with you a nice report that has been prepared by the World Database of Protected Areas, listing the different tools of evaluating the effectiveness of the protected areas. We have worldwide 7-8 tools. We have many national and regional tools as well. All these tools can work and can help. The most important is to do this evaluation for the protected areas on regular basis, really to be able to monitor the effective management of these protected areas. Paolo and Carlo, we have around 20 minutes to go through the IMET software or application, and then we will open a Q&A session really to have this exchange with you. And for the Lebanese colleagues, Paolo and Carlo will be in Lebanon, hopefully by June, early July, to provide a training about IMET for 1 week to learn more how to use this important tool. Paolo, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Nizar, and thank you, Madhu, and thank you everybody for attending. Just on what you just said, I'm not yet sure that I will have the possibility also to come to Lebanon, but for sure, Carlo will come. I hope in a very near future to have this possibility. So thank you, everybody. We are here today to introduce you to the IMET tool, Integrated Management Effectiveness Tool. So what we're planning to do is that I will provide you some general information on the rationale for the development of the tool, on its main strengths, and then together with Carlo, we will show you how the tool is structured, how it can do, etc. So first of all, it's important to say that this work has been developed in the frame of a program funded by the European Commission, BioPAMA, Biodiversity Protected Areas Management, covering the Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific countries. And based on feedback from field practitioners, protected area management, national services. So, no, okay, I thought it was something for me.
It seems there is someone not muted. Go ahead, Paolo.
Okay. And the feedback was that most practitioners really needed a tool which would have helped them in their day-to-day work. The tools which were available, or at least the way they used to be used, did not fully respond to their needs. So we engaged, in particular, Carlo, based on his decennial field experience in protected area management in the frame of different programs, in trying to develop something which would have responded to these needs. So we started with first versions, let's say Excel based, and with data collection on the field, engagement with users. But then it came quite normal to evolve to a real software application, and offline, meaning that it can be used independently from the internet, provided it's uploaded in the computer before going in the protected area. And we came through subsequent field assessments, or let's call them tests if we want, which allowed to further and subsequently improve the tool up to the version which is available now, knowing that we're still completely open and there's a huge network of users providing information. So it's full openness from our side to make some additional improvements if they're needed. The tool is now self-uploading, meaning that when there are some improvements, just by opening it again on your PC, the improvements will be directly available on your PC. So the main important thing to say is that we tried to follow in a very structured way, which allowed easier understanding from the protected area users, practitioners, the 6 steps of the management of protected areas. We focus very much on something which we believe is of paramount importance each time we assess how a protected area is behaving, is the analysis of the context. So we spend a long time, an important time, in updating the information, or if we do the assessment for the very first time, in providing the information, full information on the protected area. As you can see, Carlo has shown on the screen, which I assume you can all see. There are the top 3 different parts, sections: intervention context, management evaluation, and analysis report. So the very first one is the intervention context, as I was saying, where we go very much in depth with the staff of the protected area to identify which are the different aspects of the protected area to take into consideration, and how is the situation in all of them. We can we assess initially general information on the protected area. Then we go, the screen is going and leaving, okay. We go on information on the areas, the boundaries, etc. Then on all human, financial, and material resources. Then on what we call the values of the protected area, so animal species, plant species, and habitats. Then we go on the threats, then on climate change and conservation, and then ecosystem services and community dependence. And then we try to prioritize what comes out from the assessment. The way the system works is that we normally convene, we agree with the national service of the concerned country and protected area. Ideally, a representative from the national service are also attending, together with the warden of the park and possibly all the staff of the protected area, ideally also to some representative of the key communities around the protected area. Then together with them, we go through the full tool, starting from the analysis of the context. Then we go to the analysis of the management, how the management is done, and then we generate the analysis report. But I will talk later about the analysis report. For each of these sections, there are a number of indicators, which are actually practically the same indicators. I would say 95% or 90% of them are the same indicators which you will find in MET, for instance. The main difference maybe is that they are structured one by one, and we start to assess them in the order of the subsequent steps of the protected area. You can see that for each individual, these are the 6 steps: management, context, planning, inputs, process, outputs, and outcomes. I'm sure you're all very much familiar with this. We will come back after to some other icons which you can see on the top. So we go one by one to the different indicators and to the one or more questions which underpin each individual indicator. The software provides very clear explanation on what is a question about, what does it mean, how is the scoring system, etc., etc. So it's very much straightforward. It's very easy to do the evaluation. It's a little bit long the very first time you do it. For protected areas which never undertook an IMET assessment, it takes more or less 3 to 4 days to go from the beginning to the very end, which includes also an in-depth assessment of the results of your evaluation, and then we provide one by one the comments, and each individual scoring is given by the audience. So this supports very much objectivity in the results. And we must say that based on our experience, it's incredibly rare to find situations where the audience disagree on the score. So it's very much based on agreement of the participants. All this work is facilitated by, ideally, and at least initially, facilitated by a facilitator, which we use to call an IMET coach. For your information, in Africa, there's a network of IMET coaches, which of coaches of protected areas management effectiveness, including but not only IMET, which decided to organize them in a formal network registered in Ivory Coast. And so the role of the facilitator is to animate a little bit the discussion, to explain the questions where they're not very clear, to facilitate convergence of responses, and to highlight apparent contradictions, because sometimes it happens that some answers are given to different questions which are apparently different, one illogically different one to the other. For this, we developed a kind of sub-tool, which is what Carlo is showing you now on the screen. It's called cross-analysis. So when the system spots apparently contradictory answers in certain questions. So this doesn't mean that it is wrong, but it only brings under the eyes of everybody the necessity to further discuss these apparent inconsistencies in order to decide whether the score which was initially given was right, or whether it's needed to revise the initial score. So voila, this is the more or less the system, how the way how the system works. I told you 3 main parts. The first one is the analysis of the intervention context, which allows establishing baselines. And this is extremely important because we can then in the future have a reference line which is stored in the database. Don't forget that everything is stored in a database. This is probably one of the main strengths of IMET. You can retrieve your information, detailed information at any moment. Then we pass to the analysis of the management effectiveness, is part on the top, management evaluation. We screen one by one all the indicators of all the 6 steps of management effectiveness. And to be noted that each time something which was identified or spotted or highlighted in the intervention context, it is automatically reported in the assessment of the management effectiveness so that you can have it under your eyes in order not to forget it, in order to base your scoring and decisions on what was identified as important from the beginning. Once these 2 assessments of the context of intervention and of the management effectiveness of the management are done, you can go to the third element of IMET, which is the analysis report. And the analysis report provides you with a synthetic list of all the main aspects characterizing your protected areas and its situation on the day of the assessment, provides you with various visualization tools, radar, where you can easily see the score for each individual step of the management. If you identify an area where your protected area is particularly weak or particularly strong, you can easily go back and retrieve through the score you have given to certain indicators why your protected area is not performing well, or where it is important to give particular attention and maybe to prioritize some new activities in the work you are planning to do for the subsequent year. Maybe, Carlo, you can show what we call the puzzle of the protected areas. In the analysis report, you have each box corresponds to one of the indicators which have been assessed through the scoring system we were discussing, presenting before. And with a system based on colors, you can easily, very easily identify all the areas where your PA is performing well, and where you have some issues which you might have to address. There's also,
Paolo, if you allow me, can you explain a little bit what's the meaning of the different colors? They are for sure related to the score, but just for more clarification.
Yes, indeed. So the green is where there are no issues identified. Your protected area is performing well. The yellow is where you still have some rooms of improvement. The orange is definitely something which should be addressed. And then in some cases we have red. Also, it's not the case of this protected area, whereas definitely either no activities at all are undertaken to address a certain issue which came out during the assessment, and which therefore would need to be addressed or included in your planning. An important thing is that in each individual session of the analysis of the context and on the analysis of the management effectiveness, you have the possibility to identify some priorities. It happens so many times that in a protected area, they realize that in spite of some important elements, unicity of some species, etc., they are not at all addressing these aspects in their management. And so in each section, you have the possibility to add some priority which will then come very visible at the end, and which it will be possible to prioritize for your future.
Yeah. Paolo, maybe this is one of the advantages of the IMET, right? Because the other evaluation tools, more or less, they are static and you have to adapt with them. But here we have the opportunity to add whatever on the different sections, some specific threat, let's say, or a specific need for that specific protected area.
Absolutely. There are so many things to say about IMET that trying to concentrate everything in 20 minutes is quite challenging. But indeed, the tool is flexible, meaning that you have a number of options under each individual answer in each individual indicator. But then if the options which are provided by the system do not correspond to the specificity of your protected area, you can easily add something. And the statistical system which is behind IMET, which was done by a colleague who taught in Harvard, so it's a very sound system, allows to add in the characterization of your protected area the elements which you believe are important. And this will remain for the future. I mean, if you want to undertake an IMET assessment 2 years after, 3 years after, you can restart from the initial one, and you will find customized the system already on what you have. The second time you make an assessment, it's much quicker than the first one, and it allows you to reorient or adapt or improve your work in the protected area. Another thing I want to say, then I need to stop. Maybe Carlo will want to add something, but for sake of time, we need probably to stop here, knowing that we are fully available either to make another webinar or to provide you bilaterally responses if you have specific questions. The important thing to say is that beyond the tool itself, we developed another tool which is called IMET Scaling Up, which allows to make comparison between two or more different assessments. This means that you can either compare a protected area over time, so how it performs over time. You can easily see areas where you improve or area where there are issues to be addressed, or you can even compare with the limitations of this type of comparison, of course, many protected areas. This gives you an idea of how your protected area system performs.
Perfect.
And this is particularly interesting for national services, or for the assessment, or I don't know, of marine protected area or terrestrial protected areas, or protected areas within key landscape for conservation and development, which is very much relevant in Africa, or in other things. So the system allows you to pick up a number of IMET assessments which you have done, and then you can display information in different ways, radar, histogram, and so on, including going up to a level of certain group of indicators to understand how your protected area system is performing. I will stop here. I'm sure there's a lot of more things to say. The only one which I completely missed is the fact that this is one IMET is considered by the IUCN Green List team as a system fitting very well for the protected areas which want to engage in the Green List process. And so well, I think I'm done, and without forgetting that we have been told by the users that making an IMET assessment entails a very strong dimension of capacity building. A lot of staff of protected area told us that they finally managed to understand how different aspects of the very complex aspect of management protected area relate each other. I will stop here, and apologies for having this so long. Maybe Carlo want to add.
Thank you, Paolo. It's very useful. Just to focus on several important points that you mentioned before we move to Carlo. This is an application. We can download it for free, right? We can search on it, and this is what I did. You can download it for free. To be able to use it properly, you need some trained people. Let's say in the case that we are planning to do in Lebanon, when you come here and to train a group of protected areas practitioners or experts, they will be able to support the protected areas to go through the IMET and to do the evaluation. Just I need a confirmation on this point. Third, if we use the IMET for the whole protected areas, for all the protected areas in the country, we will have the advantage to do some evaluation for the whole protected area system on the national level. Those three facts, do you agree on that regarding the IMET?
I confirm for all of them. Indeed, it's available for free. Just for now, it's available on the website of BioPama. We are about to replace the older version with the new one. We just need to wait a little bit because we need a new installer, which is nearly done. So by next week, it will be fully available. We are now in version 2.13. And with the new version we developed, we also made available a tool which we presented some days ago in another webinar, a simplified version of IMET to be used in conserved areas, whatever type of conserved area they are. But this is not the topic of this session. But yes, indeed available. It's very much straightforward to use it. So, but ideally, we recommend to do it with somebody who knows about protected data management and who can guide a little bit the people in the work. But ideally, each country should form its own staff to undertake this, which is perfectly feasible on their own.
That's perfect. Thank you, Paolo. The IMET is adopted by the Green List, by the other effective management bodies or certification bodies. This is very good. And last year, we organized a specific webinar about the Green List to encourage the protected areas to apply for this important tool for effective management. Carlo, let's continue in your presentation. And when we will have a little time, and while we were preparing to this webinar, you mentioned as well IMET can be used for potential protected areas. When you finish your presentation, it will be great, you and Paolo, to give us some hints related to that, because now the whole world is very busy to create new protected areas to meet the new goal of protected areas. How can IMET help the countries to do that? Carlo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nizar. Thank you, Paolo. Just to go to these elements of identification and planning, just small information about IMET. So you understand that there is a database behind the IMET. So in this case, as you see, all the data I'm working now, for example, in 21 protected area to make a scaling up in West Africa. So at the same time, I can choose what are the protected area where I can go to make in scaling up analysis. In this case, so the data are saved, and you can, and this is, for example, the function, you can export, you can import, so you can transfer this data from one protected area to the national authority, from one team to another team. You can print, and of course you can erase, but you can delete, but it's not the case. In this case, you can also create your base in the time. As Paolo said, you can customize and then you can repeat. When you create a new protected area that exists in WDPA, you can, for example, or also when you create a new IMET non-WPA, this is very important because not all the protected areas, especially the new one, are in the WDPA. You can repeat the exercise in the
Carlo,
time.
just a little clarification.
Yes.
Who's not familiar with WDPA, which is the World Database on Protected Areas.
Exactly.
All the protected areas worldwide should be registered there to be counted for the new goal of the protected areas. And when I share this link about the different tools of effective evaluation, it is published on this website. So who is not familiar with this website is fully encouraged to go there and to discover, and to go around and to see more details about the different protected areas that are registered there.
So it is just something information to show that IMET is easy to use. Okay, now I have to open. Well, I can show you. Okay, I have to open. I prefer the way. Okay, my computer is not really very fast, so sometimes when you have the white screen, it meaning that the new page is appearing. Okay, and you see for the planning, I'm speaking now for the planning. As you see, there is the possibility at the end of each section, like in this case, for example, setting objective, when you discuss about specific elements of analysis of evaluation, you can mention, for example, some elements. In this case, we are on the base of management plan, non-mission statement, and we have, for example, on a target to establish these elements, and so on. So for each section, you can have this kind of basic information, and then there is in both section, intervention contents and the management evaluation, the possibility to put together all these elements and can help us, for example, in the planning. So setting objective for the CTX 17, there is here the elements. This help us in the planning. Is the same for management evaluation. Each section has the possibility to create the objective and to establish which is the elements that are useful for the planning. It's coming. In this case, there is here objective. We click and we have the same list. And the analysis report, as you see, can show you, I already show the possibility to have all the key elements, and you have, for example, all the elements of threats. So all the key elements of the protected area are put together. You have the note, and it helps for the management plan, but also for the working plan. But because when you make IMET, you can choose, for example, to improve some section of your management or working plan. So here you have all the elements. When for example, this is about the planning, about the identification, I can show you this report. This report make with IMET for conserved area.
Carlo,
So,
this is for a potential protected area.
Potential protected area, exactly. But is the same tool IMET, but is much more focused on conserved area.
Yeah.
Potential. In this case, we work a lot on stakeholders. So we have in this case, we have the list of the stakeholders governance, stakeholder user, stakeholder support. In this case, is the stakeholder that are, for example, supporting the protected area.
Yeah.
We have the list of natural resources. We have the list and the ranking, for example, of the natural resources exploited. We have the conserved value, we have the threats, and we have, of course, the estimation of the management. In this case, we can, and here is the report, where we identify with this tool, this Gagayay community forest that is in Sierra Leone. In this case, IMET help us to build this report where we establish all the elements of this potential protected area. We give the key elements, and so for the national authority, I don't think so that it is is useful in the meaning that he has all elements and can establish much better the possibility to create or to establish this potential area.
As well, Carlo, these reports can be very useful for the decision maker to encourage them to announce and to designate these protected areas.
Exactly, because in this case, it's not just some information, but it's really very structured information. Plus, this information are organized and secured in a database. So it's not just a single report, but it's really very an analysis that is made by all the stakeholders. And when we are speaking of stakeholders, we say local community, but also, for example, national authority that we bring together and we discuss. And I remember, just to give you an example, that in Gagaway there was a big discussion about the protection of the forest. The national authority, forest and national authority, want to protect the forest. The local authority want to protect the forest for drinking water, so for approvisioning of drinking water, and the national authority protection for key species. So the protection is both is the same for both the partnership, but they want to understand each other what they want. So with this kind of tool, we help to understand each other and to establish, for example, common target. What we can say more,
Carlo, we have
yes.
maybe we have to come back to some questions because
yes, of course.
we have around 10 minutes. We have a question from Stefania saying the IMET can be useful for transboundary protected areas.
For
transboundary protected areas.
Yes, of course. I don't see what is because IMET analyze all the elements, including especially, and we can go in. Okay, I can go. There is a special section. Now it's coming. Okay. For example, when we are speaking about the area, there is all the elements. I think that is up here.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we can see it, Carlo.
Okay. Okay. In this case, for example, we have also many elements about the characteristic of the area, and we are, for example, elements that integrate the protected area in the landscape. So we are speaking about, for example, for marine protected area spillover effect. We have an area for the ecosystem service of a protected area for the landscape. So we try to as now is evident, to integrate the protected area in this landscape where we are working on conservation.
If I may add on this point, we were solicited in the past on similar question. If you undertake an IMET assessment on each individual part of the protected area, the one in a country and the other one in the other country, you can then compare the two assessments and see whether they align or not. If there are divergent priorities in the two areas, you can easily understand that there's room for wider improvement. So indeed, it's an important element which allows bringing things together. And ideally, over time, it will be possible maybe to have one single assessment of the whole area. So
Perfect.
The possibilities offered are many.
Yeah, this is good. Another question, Carlo and Paolo, from Mehdi. He's saying there is a different tools of evaluating protected area, and usually they were using MET in 2010. Maybe this is a little bit confusing the users. I think all of them are evaluation tools and we can use one of them, but now we are presenting in this session the advantages of the IMET as it is the most updated and the new tools for evaluating effectiveness of protected areas.
If I may, maybe on this point, if the colleague refers to the use of IMET in 2010, 2011, in reality, MET evolved quite a lot since then. There were subsequent versions. The current version available is now MET 4, which provides many more elements than the initial version. It's more sophisticated, even if not yet with the database. And probably the main difference is the fact that there's not a detailed context assessment as we have here. I personally wouldn't say that this is confusing, because in reality, when you can decide, of course, whatever tool you want, and you make your assessment from the beginning to the end. So this tool in Central and Western Africa has been adopted by all countries. It's basically the national tool which is in use in all the countries. They found them much more comfortable with this, because it helped the day-to-day work of the managers, because of the database, because of the possibility to compare, etc. So
yeah, another question from Dania. Dania is asking if this tool can assess especially the land cover change in case of terrestrial ecosystems and seascape change, which is the question. I think it's related to if the IMET can assess the land cover change in the case of the terrestrial ecosystems. And if you're still with us, Dania, if you have more clarification, please jump in and ask your question.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Yes, it was mainly to check whether there is any spatial assessment component to complement the more, I would say, expert-built knowledge.
But IMET was built to support the management effectiveness. So if I can back a little bit on the confusion, we have the opposite answer from the field, in the meaning that IMET is really very structured, so help the staff to understand what is the elements that have to take care. For example, like threats that are really very deep, ecosystem services, climate change. So it's structured much more than before the management of the protected area. On the other hand, IMET as for example, tools like inside like threats calculator, that is the same that was adopted by the IUCN, is really very deep and with many sections, but need, for example, to be supported, for example, by smart Earth Ranger or by other information that are coming from the monitoring. IMET help to identify what is the priority in conservation. In this case, what is the priority on monitoring. And in this case, for example, if we need to follow what is the land cover, and we establish that land cover, forest land cover is a key element, then of course the national park need to find the information on the land cover. So it's not a tool IMET that measure land cover or the change, take the information to organize better and to prioritize the management effectiveness.
If I may just compliment on this, thank you very much, Dania, for the question, Carlo, for your feedback. As Carlo said, the tool doesn't provide itself because it doesn't have an observation layer, etc. This was developed in the frame of the BioPAMA program. In BioPAMA, we try to make available for the different protected areas the best information available with regards to land cover and land cover change. This was focused on Africa. It comes information mainly from Copernicus program. I'm afraid we don't have the same level of information for your region, but we might check with the colleagues on what is information available. But some of this information is retrieved, can be retrieved in IMET, in this case, not yet embedded, let's say. I hope it answers.
Thank you very much. That was just to see whether it complements also some spatial analysis. Thank you so much. I have to leave and hope to have a follow-up. It's a very interesting workshop. Thank you.
Thank you, Dania. Dania is and her colleagues are playing a key role in supporting the BioConnect project in Lebanon. I don't know, maybe Maher Mahjoub, the director of IUCN Malaga, had to leave as well. Thank you, Maher, for your presence. We have another remark here asking about the difference between IMET and green list. Maybe here we need to clarify a little bit. The green list, it is a tool for effective management. It's a kind of certification for effective management given to the protected area. The green list adopted the IMET as a good tool to evaluate the management. I don't know if we can add here some few clarification coming back to Tufi question.
What we can say that IMET and the green list are really strong oriented on the outcome. There is a crosswalk between a green list and many PAME tools, and also between the green list and the IMET to green list. So we have some coaches that use IMET to elaborate a green list. So the two are different, and the IMET support strongly the green list criteria in achieving the green list criteria. So we think so that it's not just to make a comparison, but IMET has a strong point in establish the context, and so in this case to support the management. Green list is much focused on target and certificate the target achieved. So in this case, IMET support a lot the establishment of the green list.
Yeah, we can say, Carlo, the IMET is a more tool, can calculate in numbers and percentages the performance of the protected area, which is the green list is a more global certification body to support the effective management in general for the protected areas. As well, we still have some questions. I think now it's related to the coaching. Do you share information about how to access an IMET coach? What costs are associated in engaging with a coach?
But I would say that there are no particular costs associated. The fact is that to become coach, you need to follow a training on IMET. Unfortunately, we're not organizing on a regular basis this training on IMET. We are in a changing period. The BioPAMA program is finishing. There's a new program which is starting. So C4 ICRAF, we have the responsibility to organize some training activities in Africa. What goes beyond Africa, we are currently under discussion with Director General INTPA and with the EU delegations and with the B4Life facility, so Stefania Petrosillo for your region of interest, how we can make available either additional resources or etc. to organize some specific trainings.
So I think Paolo, the best scenario for the protected areas agencies and partners to organize such training. As we are planning to do in Lebanon, maybe every country can organize a training for 1 week for some expert and practitioners and protected areas managers to be able to support in the evaluation of the protected areas on the national level.
Exactly. So following a training and then undertaking an IMET assessment. This is a requisite which was decided by the various coaches. how to confirm the fact of being coached. So you follow training and you have undertaken at least one facilitated one assessment.
Perfect.
Maybe another important information to give, which is also related to this question, is that we have developed two MOOCs on IMET. There's a basic IMET MOOC and an advanced IMET MOOC. We are struggling a little bit in finding the right platform to make them available because we cannot put them in our BioPharma platform. For now, it's kind of restricted in a platform of a regional school in Central Africa. But Nizar, we can explore this together. If you have the possibility to host on your platforms this, it will be absolutely possible. So the people can start and discovering IMET. There are also manuals, etc. But the MOOC is indeed most suited for that.
We are so happy to support in that, as well as Stefania saying, happy to help as consultant of ECDJ NIR in the framework of B4 Life facility, as Paolo just mentioned. So guys, now it's 4:08. It's almost the end of our time. Stefania, yes, European Commission. If we have a last one or two questions, let's go ahead. And really, it's very interesting to see all this number of people are interested, and hopefully that will be a good indicator for the future of the protected areas in the region and the whole world. If we have a very quick two quick questions, if not, we can close it. Yes, Carlo, please.
No, just to remember, as Paolo said, that there is an handbook for IMET, handbook for IMET scaling up, and the handbook for IMET conserved area in French and in English.
Perfect. They can be
in Spanish also.
They can be downloaded from BioPharma.
We are developing a portal, an IMET portal, bringing all the information together, but the portal is not yet available so far. What you can see on the screen now, IMET on the left, this is the IMET we have presented today. We call it IMET standard or IMET protected area. The other one is the one of the webinar of last week, 2 weeks ago.
IMET conserved area.
Exactly. Maybe an important thing to say, which can be of interest to the audience, is the fact that IMET allows clearly identifying priorities in your protected area. So once we undertake the assessment through the analysis report, we go with an additional step and we make a SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, etc. analysis, which allows to make a planning and allows to highlight which are the priorities. And this is a very precious document to engage with the donor community, because you have clearly identified, following a process of joint in-depth assessment, what are the priorities for your protected area. Many times a donor would like to fund something, but don't really know how, what, etc. So this is very useful to
Paolo, I think, Paolo and Carlo, we have an interesting question from Alessandra saying if a protected area is developing a new management plan, it is possible to enter in the software management objectives, targets, and track the achievement of objectives of the management plan through this tool?
Yes. Okay, yes, we can say, because I'm just showed that we are on the outcome, in the outcome section, and you see there is a section number 2 where conditional trends of the key conservation elements, and here there is a conservation condition of key animals. So this is the priority of conservation, plants, habitats, threats is the same. Don't take at the beginning it was asked the conservation, and also then we can see adaptation of climate change, trends of ecosystem services, that is much more important now, and you see also the elements on the quality of life of local stakeholders. So in the outcome, after the discussion between the different stakeholders or inside the team of the protected area, the key elements are put together in the outcome, and can become the long-term objective for the management plan.
Perfect. Perfect. Very, very interesting. IMET is a tool to do evaluation and to do good planning as well for the protected areas. Really, I would like to thank you all. I start with Carlo and Paolo. It's very appreciated to go into this process. You were very responsive from the first contact that I did with you less than 1 month ago, and here we are at the end of the webinar. So thank you for your support, for this enthusiasm. As you said, Paolo, it's not possible to present the IMET in 1 hour webinar, but this is just a beginning for all the interested experts and protected areas practitioners. Now go to the website, download the IMET, and start to discover this important tool. I did this since 1 month. Really, it's amazing. And as Paolo said, you need some support and some coaching, not too much, but for the experienced people, they can use the application easily, maybe without support, but always with some coaching and some support, we will do it in a better way and to get the better results. My colleagues are asking, if possible, to open your cameras, to have a screenshot to just save this photo for the future and to see your wonderful faces
with
from
pleasure.
everywhere. Stefania, a long time. Alessandra, it's very nice to meet those friends after a long time. Chase, I appreciate that you're connected from a very far away. So great. I think, Christina, everyone, really, I would like to welcome you, Sandra, one by one, to Fi. Let's give Sarah a little time just to do screenshot for the different screens, and really to thank you for your presence. A last word, Paolo, Carlo.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We are fully available. If you need more information, we'll be delighted to engage with you.
Looking to see you face to face soon. For all the colleagues who are coming from the different countries, from the Gulf, from North Africa, from West Asia, from the whole world, if you want contact with Paolo and Carlo, please let me know to share their emails with you, and hopefully for a better, more effective protected areas in the coming years, to protect ourselves, to protect our planet, and to protect it for the future generations.
From my side, beyond saying thank you, I would really encourage you to try and use IMET once in your protected area, because this is what will make you understand whether you like it or not.
You have in the webinar very important decision makers, and I'm sure they will use it. And they will use it on national and regional levels as well. Okay, guys, thank you. Hopefully to meet soon in the coming webinar. The coming webinar will be about communicating protected areas, and we will promise you to show you some beautiful movies and photos about the protected areas in our region. Looking to see you again. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you,
everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Bye. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Nisa, for
Bye.
the occasion.
Take care, Carlo.
Bye.
Thank you. Looking to see you.